From MVPs to missed opportunities, from Cole to Gong, from Kutch to Clint Barmas, it's time to count down the best, worst, and weirdest of the Bob Nutting era. That's next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Pirates, your daily podcast for all things Pittsburgh baseball. I'm your host, Gary Morgan, and today we're doing something a little different, a full episode of top 10 lists from the Bob Nutting era. Since 2007, the Pirates have given us stars, busts, bargains, and scandals, so let's break it all down. The hitters, the pitchers, the signings, and the stuff we'd rather forget. This episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit FIVEHEWin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Let's get right into it. These lists are going to be a lot of fun. And I'm sure you're going to disagree, but it'll give us something fun to talk about in the comments. So let's do it. Top 10 hitters from 2007 to present. All right. I don't know if we should pay too much attention to the order, but I tried to put them in the order that I thought they fell. So 10, Freddie Sanchez, batting title winner, though mostly pre-nutting. I still have to count him as in this era. O'Neal Cruz. I think he's still an emerging power threat, but he's definitely in my top 10, at least as far as threatening hitters go. Jason Bay, early nutting years, still very productive, though, once he came on. Russell Martin, short stint, huge impact, 2013 to 2014. Looking back on his numbers now, they're a lot better than I think I remember complaining about them at the time. Josh Bell, 2019 All-Star, 37 home run season. Brian Reynolds, I know he's having a down year, but he's still a modern-day cornerstone and an All-Star. Pedro Alvarez, power bat, 36 home runs in 2013. Neil Walker, I gave Neil Walker the nod. Pittsburgh kid, he was clutch, he was consistent. Starling Marte, Gold Glove winner, consistent bat, speed, and then I don't know how you could go any other direction for one of the top 10 hitters. Andrew McCutchen, MVP, 5-time All-Star, face of the franchise. Andrew McCutchen gets that. Let's roll right into the top 10 starting pitchers under Mr. Nutting. I'm going to go in the Wayback Machine, and this is very much so towards the very beginning of Nutting's reign. Paul Maholm, he was a workhorse in those early lean years. Jameson Taillon, I put him at 9 mostly because, man, he had to overcome so much adversity. He was a solid contributor when he was capable of pitching. Ivan Nova, reliable innings eater for a few years there for the Pirates, and I think still arguably one of their better examples of somebody that they actually retained when that could have easily let walk. Joe Musgrove. He was solid in Pittsburgh. I don't think he ever reached the Joe Musgrove that he became in San Diego. But one thing that followed him along was how injury prone he was. So Mitch Keller, struggling right this very second, but All-Star in 2023, signed to an extension, one of the only pitchers they've ever done that with, and definitely one of the better starters that they've had. Charlie Morton, I put on this list at 5. I don't think he ever really reached his heights here in Pittsburgh, but I feel like he did enough here to be on this list. Maybe I have him a little too high. I really like Charlie Morton. I probably should have dropped him down on this list upon looking at it again, but whatever. It's not going to kill anybody. Paul Skeens, I'm clocking in at 4. Now, I think Paul Skeens is going to be number one on this list, but right now, just for what he's done so far, I just couldn't put him above the three that did beat him out here. He's just getting started, but he is absolutely destined for the top of this list. For overall talent, yeah, he wins. But just what they've done, not quite yet. Francisco Liriano gets number three for me. Dominant in 2013, key playoff arm for this team. AJ Burnett gets number two, veteran leader, helped change the culture here. And number one, I don't know if you're all going to agree with this, but I certainly do. Garrett Cole. He was an ace level talent. He's a Cy Young winner. Not with us, but a Cy Young winner. He got a lot better after being traded, arguably a year or two too early, or else we might have seen a little bit of that here in Pittsburgh. That's what I got for the top starting pitchers. I don't think anybody could really disagree too much with any of that. Now, when you do like the hitters and the pitchers, I think you kind of come through all that and you realize, yeah, some of these names aren't impressive enough to be on anyone's top 10 list for what, the last 20 some years. It's not. It's not. But some of them were actually just a little bit of a march down memory lane. You know, like I put Jason Bay on here because of the very early years with Nutting there. I probably could have put Brian Giles too, but I felt like that was over right around the time he took over, and I just couldn't make the argument that he belonged on this list over some of the other options there. Russell Martin, the 2-year stint made me really think and take pause before adding him to the list, but I just felt like, and maybe my sentiment is almost more about the fact that they actually reached and went out and got like potentially the best position player at a position available in free agency, and they did something about it, signed him to a multi-year deal, and really kind of, I think, built the foundation for what that team went on to do. The starting pitchers, this was a little bit easier for me because starting pitchers tend to form a legacy when they matter, and Paul Maholm was probably my hardest selection here. I wanted to put him on. I didn't feel like he had enough crossover with the Nutting era to really warrant it. But when I started going through the list of guys we've had that we've considered really good starting, it was really hard to even fake create somebody else into this spot. It was pretty lean, really. For the pitching rich team that the Pirates have become, that is not the list that we have been able to create thus far. Maybe like 10 years from now, I do another one of these top 10 starting pitcher lists. Maybe a lot of these guys get knocked off of it because some of this new round of pitchers coming will replace them. You know, I mean, you already saw I got Skeens at 4, and I could have probably made a pretty good argument he should already be at 1. I mean, he's won Rookie of the Year. He's barreling towards winning a Cy Young, but I wanted to like give it a little soak time and recognize that it's definitely going to get better. When we come back, let's do something real fun. Let's do the top 10 scandals and controversies of the Nutting era. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies and making great memories with friends, it's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. You know, I was just golfing up at Strawberry Field up in the North Hills. I don't know if you've ever been there or not, but I notoriously lose about 20 balls every time I go there. And a friend of mine I was going with, we were going to golf together, and I was warning him how many balls he'd lose, and he showed up with an entire pack of recycled balls. And I thought about betting how many of those balls he'd go through. And then we both had the cleanest round of our lives. It was amazing. 5-hour energy might have played a role. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape ginger lime flavor of 5-hour energy transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up for the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit 5FIVEHE win.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. All right. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. Hit me with a like and let me know what you thought of this show format. Trying to do something a little different for you and not focus on the day-to-day machinations of this baseball club just for a day. I'm going to give you a break from it. We already talked about Bubba debuting yesterday, and no reason to recap that again today. We haven't seen anything change yet. I suppose we could guess about who was going to get cut for him, but we'll have plenty of time to react to that. And even if it's Andrew Heaney, it won't be that earth-shattering. So we'll move on. The controversies. This one's probably a controversy, just that I'm putting them in some kind of order. But number 10, I'm going with the Clemente number advertising replacement this year. And I made it number 10 because I don't think anybody would have been nearly as mad about it if it didn't follow number 9 directly, which was Bucko Bricks. That's right. Bucko Bricks this year, I think, was a big controversy and handled horribly. Number 8, Kutch's first departure. I thought it was mishandled PR-wise. They didn't communicate it well to the local industry, and it was handled horribly online. It was treated like a morgue. it was a terrible moment in Pittsburgh, and it always is when you trade somebody like that. You're never going to win that sort of deal, even though they got Brian Reynolds back in it. Bonus gate. This is yearly. I think this started with Rowdy. I think it's going on with Heaney. I personally don't care about it at all, but it does seem to rile people up. Again, this one's probably really married more to what he does overall financially. And if he didn't do that, I don't think anyone would see this stuff as a major problem. First, every team does it. I mean, there's a reason like Lowe was let go from Washington when he was, and then was signed by a playoff contender, right? They were trying to save money. Let's just not hide from that fact. 2015 wild card game, 98 wins, one and done. Now, I thought that was scandalous because that was the best team that this franchise has put on the field since early 1990s. And it was a scandal to me that it ended in a one and done. I was disgusted with the game for allowing a one game to eliminate a team that won almost 100 games. I think I've resented the wild card just about ever since, even if it's the best bet I have to get them back into the playoffs in some way, shape, or form. I've always kind of resented the wild card because of that. The 2012 collapse. This is one of the worst things I've ever lived through because it was after all of that losing. And we were finally getting close to like getting something done. They were 16 games over 500, and they fell all the way to sub 500 by the end of the season. We call a lot of things collapse, but that 2012 collapse was the worst and one of the most soul-crushing things I've ever experienced. And yeah, I thought the team would come back and be okay again in 2013, but I definitely didn't see them like taking a big jump because that was very disheartening the way that thing finished. He who shan't be named. Yeah, Felipe Vasquez. You can't forgive this organization for that entire fiasco. Whether it's being sour grapes, they had an opportunity to trade him and didn't, or you just in general had a feeling about the guy and thought he should have gone. Either way, it was a controversy. I hated it being talked about. It was like the only time the Pirates would get talked about at times, and it really stunk. The Brian Reynolds extension drama from a few years ago to me was a public embarrassment. We couldn't even have a clean signing of a very mid-tier Major League Baseball player. He's an above average player. He's a good player. He can hit all-star levels here and there. But Brian Reynolds was not the type of player that you needed to have this kind of a drama about, with threatening to trade and, asking to be traded and arguing about giving somebody opt-outs in a contract. Like, they didn't need to make this a big drama, and they did. And it ate up an entire off season and into a season before they finally fixed it. Jung Ho Gong's legal issues are number 2. Multiple DUIs, some assault claims, very messy. I mean, his leg injury is what I think a lot of fans remember as what ended his time here in Pittsburgh, that started out rather promising, and it did to a degree. But all these legal issues are what just really destroyed his career. There was no ability to even see if he could recover from that leg injury, because he couldn't recover from everything that he was doing in his personal life, unfortunately. And then I personally think that this was overblown at the time, but it's number 1 for sure, because it gets brought up weekly and has just about ever since it happened. The Chris Archer trade. They gave up Glasnow, Meadows, and the just drafted Baz. I honestly don't think that this was as good for the Rays as it looked like it might be at the time, nor as bad for the Pirates as it looked like it might be at the time. Now, Chris Archer was a guy they should have identified as being on the downswing, and they didn't. So for that, you can't be forgiven. But all in all, this trade ended up kind of not helping anybody. Even Tampa, that's getting something out of Baz, man, he's still injured all the time. They're still going to end up trading him in a year before they've really gotten anything worthwhile out of him. How about the international signings? Because this has been a big pain point for the Pirates. It's been a long time. We haven't seen very much from it. And when I do this list, I think it's going to be very clear. We just haven't gotten a lot from the international market. Number 10 is Po Yu Chen, Taiwanese pitcher, one of the very first signings of the Ben Cherington era here under our buddy Bob Nutting, who's actually the focus of these top 10 lists. But Po Yu Chen, he's in AAA, AA, one of those two. I think he's in AAA. And there's a guy that I think is working himself into a shot at the majors. He looks pretty put together. He's going to be one of the first pitchers they've actually yanked off of this board in a long time if he manages to make it. Shailin Polanco, he's still a prospect, high ceiling, starting to emerge this year a little bit in the minors, enough that I wanted to put him on there. In the same spirit, Blanco Jr. I've added to this list. Big bonus. He's starting to emerge with big power. There's some questions about the strikeouts and the contact tool to go with that power, but he's still an exciting young prospect, and I like him. You're not going to like this one, but Ji-Hwan Bae makes my list, and he gets above those other guys because he's debuted in the major leagues, and he, for whatever he is fast, and he can play a lot of different positions. And I still feel when the Pirates cut bait with him, he's going to get a shot somewhere else. Xiangxie Sheng, still young, in the minors. He has debuted. That's a guy that you have to continue to hold hope for. He can definitely play shortstop, super, super clean shortstop. Bat hasn't come along. Power definitely hasn't come along. Rodolfo Castro added to this list. He's one of the only ones that actually made it to the majors. And they traded him to the Phillies for Bailey Falter. That's not important. Point is, he came through the system and made it up here. Somebody I'm very excited about, very young. I made him probably a little too high on this list. Maybe it's because I'm so excited about him, but Edward Florentino, he's in Bradenton still, so I probably shouldn't be frothing at the mouth, but the body type is just different on that kid, and I really think he's got a chance to be very special. Luis Ortiz, he's the only recent MLB member of the program. Now, he's out for potentially gambling after being traded to Cleveland, but he was a success. You cannot say he wasn't a success. He came through the international program, made it all the way to the majors, made an impact trade that brought back a piece that the Pirates are actually using. So that was a win coming out of the international signings. And then you got to go way back. You got to go into the Wayback Machine to finish the list for 2 and 1. Gregory Polanco, flashes of brilliance, long tenure. He was here for a long time, signed to a long extension, spent a long time as a Bucco. And Starling Marte, best international product of the era, period. Boy, you could use about 10 or 15 more Starling Martes in the time he's been, and you still might consider it light work for what an international system is supposed to provide you. When we come back, we're going to talk about the top 10 worst trades and the top 10 worst signings. Isn't it going to be fun? Welcome back to Locked On Pirates. I know this episode's a little dark at times, but it's fun. It's fun to remember really what we came through. Well, people don't know what we've been through. They ain't like us. Let's talk about the worst signings ever. And I'll start with number 10. And maybe some of you won't even remember this name. Ramon Vasquez. He was signed to a multi-million-dollar deal. After his best career year, he failed to provide a solution at shortstop and served as another example of the Pirates' struggles to fill that position through free agency. Tony Armas Jr., $3.5 million. He was supposed to be like a fourth starter for the Pirates. He finished with an 0-3 record and an 8.92 ERA, and then had forearm problems the rest of the season. Mike Diaz. I don't even want to go into it. Mike Diaz. He was just a total misfit for the roster. It didn't work. Lonnie Chisenhall never played a game. Scott Olson never pitched a game. Lyle Overbay, a veteran bat that never delivered. We've had trouble with Diaz's. How about Matt Diaz? 2-year deal, minimal production. Remember Eric Bedard? Opening day starter, flamed out quickly. How about Yoshi Susugo? This is only one season, so I'm not sure why I put it so high, but I did. Big expectations after the little stint that he put on the year before, and then absolutely nothing the next season. It was terrible. And Derek Bell, Operation Shutdown legend, right? You can't get any better than that. Of course he was going to be the number one worst signing ever. All right. Top 10 worst trades of the nutting era. Oh, man. This was hard for me, actually, because I don't like to judge trades before I know all the pieces and what happens with everything, but it can't be avoided. Number 10 on my list is Josh Bell for Will Crow and Eddie Yean. It could still work out for Yean, but Josh Bell is still providing something the Pirates still don't have. They've never replaced the power they sent out the door. Not even close. In fact, the closest they came to replacing Josh Bell's power, Chavis? Michael Chavis was probably the closest they came to replacing Josh Bell's power. Think about that for a minute. All right, number 9 on my list is Xavier Nady and Damaso Marte to the Yankees for Jose Tabata, Ross Allendorf, Jeff Karstens, and Daniel McCutcheon. Nady was raking when he was traded. Damaso Marte was a young hurler. The return was quantity over quality. We've seen that a billion times here in Pittsburgh. Number 8, Niger Morgan and Sean Burnett to the Nationals for lasting millage and Joel Hanrahan. Hanrahan was good. Millage kind of was a bust here. Morgan became a cult hero in Milwaukee. He still is. Nate McLouth to the Braves for Charlie Morton, Jeff Locke, and Gorkys Hernandez. It's mixed result for me here. Morton and Locke had moments. McLouth was an all-star fan favorite when he was sent out. I think you would have liked to have gotten a little bit more out of Morton and more than half a season out of Locke for sure, as far as being really, really good. Morton had all the potential in the world. He was the star of that deal, and he just didn't click here in Pittsburgh. It didn't fully come together for him. Injuries got in the way. The Pirates' wishes for what they wanted him to do with his stuff got in the way. Yeah, whole mess. Number 6 is Joel Hanrahan and Brock Holt to the Red Sox for Mark Melancon, Stolmy Pimentel, Jerry Sands, Ivan De Jesus Jr. Why it's on this list? Melancon was great, but Holt became a fan favorite and an all-star in Boston, and the rest of the return fizzled. They absolutely got nothing out of the rest of that. Adam LaRoche to the Red Sox for Hunter Strickland and Argenis Diaz. LaRoche still had some value. Strickland became a decent reliever for other teams, but that's about it. And nothing ever happened with Diaz. Freddie Sanchez to the Giants for Tim Alderson. Sanchez helped the Giants win a World Series. Alderson never reached the majors. Jason Bay to the Red Sox. Boy, a lot of deals to the Red Sox, huh? Boy, that's something that's definitely kept up. Jason Bay to the Red Sox in a 3-team deal. Bay was still productive. The Pirates got Brandon Moss, Andy LaRoche, Craig Hansen, and Brian Morris. None really became stars. Garrett Cole to the Astros for Joe Musgrove. Colin Moran, Michael Feliz, and Jason Martin. Cole became a Cy Young contender. The return was underwhelming. Only Musgrove really provided value, and he was later traded too, of course. And number 1, I'm going to give it to you all who would probably say it anyway, is still probably the Chris Archer deal. He still gave up a future ace, maybe 2 of them, an all-star outfielder at one time who's now not, and a top prospect for a declining Archer who posted a 6-12 record and a 4.92 ERA in Pittsburgh. It didn't work out in any way, shape, or form. There's no way around it. They had some pretty horrific trades. That's the worst ones that I think I can name, though. There's been some recent ones. You'll note I didn't really talk about the Adam Frazier deal a few years ago. I'm not sure we should have expected a whole lot for Adam Frazier, and that kind of gets into it. One I toyed with was Quintana and Stratton for Oviedo and Nunez, if only because Oviedo's gotten injured. He was a bit of a project that they were turning from a reliever into a starter, which ultimately may have led to his arm troubles to begin with. And Nunez is still in AAA, and the way this team onboards, likely to never ascend. So I toyed with putting it on there. I toyed with some of his more recent deals. I gotta be honest, I just don't think that most of them rose to the level of like worrying about them. A lot of them were just rentals that you were moving off. And Bailey Falter, even, I'm waiting on, if only because, boy, Kalen Moss really has just been a ball of fire since getting brought over here. And I can't argue if that works out. Plus, what the Royals have ended up doing with them. They ended up putting him in the bullpen, and I heard they might even consider cutting him, which I don't understand why you would acquire somebody and have that kind of a quick trigger, or acquire somebody that you don't understand what they do, but that's what the Royals did. And hey, I'm not one to throw stones here. I've got Bob Nutting in that list I just read off. The Nutting era has been a saga, part drama, part comedy, part cautionary tale, but through it all, there have been some stars. There have been some stories. There's been just enough hope to keep some of us watching. Here's to the next top 10 list being a little more joyful and a lot more successful. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On Pirates all week long. You everydayers impressed me so much. I'm Gary Morgan. I'll catch you next time, Monday, with an all new Locked On Pirates.